When solving a rational equation, the first thing I need to do is find the least common multiple of the denominators. So in my first denominator, I have an r plus 1. In my second denominator, I have an r squared plus 7r plus 6. And in my third denominator, I have an r plus 6. So my first denominator of r plus 1 and my third denominator of r plus 6 are as simple as they can be. But my second denominator can factor, and it's going to give me an r plus 6 and an r plus 1. So remember, when you find your least common multiple, you write the shared factor once, and then you include anything that is left over. So I have an r plus 1 in common with the first two terms, and my r plus 6 is in common with the second and third term. I have nothing left over as far as the factors, so my least common multiple between my three terms are going to be r plus 1 and r plus 6. So I'm going to use r plus 1 and r plus 6 to multiply each one of our terms by, and I multiply it with a fraction over 1. So that fraction is going to distribute to each term in my equation, so I can cancel out the denominators. So my first fraction is 1 over r plus 1. And I'm going to multiply it by our least common multiple of r plus 1, r plus 6 over 1. So remember, when you multiply fractions, we think of this as one giant fraction, and we cancel out what is in common in the numerator and the denominator. So my r plus 1 can cancel, and it leaves me 1 and an r plus 6 in the numerator. So that would just be r plus 6, and that's all over 1 in my denominator. So that would really just be r plus 6. Then I can multiply with the second fraction. Now the second fraction I am subtracting, so that subtraction sign needs to distribute to the positive r and the negative 2, and it's going to change its signs to a negative r plus 2. My denominator in this fraction is r squared plus 7r plus 6, and I want to write the factor terms, so it's going to be r plus 6 and r plus 1. So now this fraction will also be multiplied by r plus 1, r plus 6 over 1. It shares the r plus 6 and it shares the r plus 1. The only thing remaining in the numerator is the negative r plus 2, and that's over 1. So it'll just be minus r plus 2. Now we're into the third fraction on the other side of the equal sign. So I have 6 over r plus 6. It too will multiply times the r plus 1, r plus 6 all over 1. The r plus 6's cancel. This time I'm left with a 6 and an r plus 1 in the numerator, so they are going to get multiplied together, and it's still over 1 in the denominator. So now I have one single equation with no fractions, so I'm going to go through, combine all of my like terms, and solve for r. On my left side, I'm going to combine my like terms of positive 1r and negative 1r, so they're going to cancel each other. And then I'm going to add positive 6 and positive 2 to give me an 8. On the right side, I'm going to distribute my 6 to the r and the positive 1 to give me a 6r plus 6. Now I'm going to solve for r, so I'm going to subtract 6 on both sides, leaving me with a 2 equal to 6r. I'm going to divide by 6, and I'm left with 2 over 6, which simplifies down to the fraction of 1/3. So r equals 1/3.